so I can repost this for you. Now we're recording. Awesome. So again, hi Facebook and Zoom and Instagram. It's Maya. I'm the founder of New Aria Weight Loss and creator of the New Aria Method. And all of this is really, truly in existence. Selfishly speaking, it's in existence for me because I was always looking for a better way. Maybe you know a little bit about my story, maybe you don't. In a nutshell, New Aria weight loss exists, the New Aria methodology exists for one single reason, was my constant desire for a better way. I grew up in a Lebanese household, food was love. You didn't finish your plate, you got like, what's the matter with me? You don't like my cooking, you don't love me. So I grew up, I was a heavier kid. And I didn't know anything about food and nutrition. I thought fat-free Oreos were good for you because they had 10 calories each, so I could eat the whole box. And went back to school to become a dietitian and learned very quickly what to do. You know, apple's healthier than a candy bar, but I still wasn't making the right choice. And so I paralleled a lot of my studies with learning how to think, cognitive behavioral therapy and neuroplasticity and the positive psychology, and really understanding how do I make the right choices? Because I know what to do, I'm just not doing it, which is the whole reason New Aria weight loss exists. Now, fast forward in time after the weight had come back off, there's so much more of the recipe that is the New Aria method that was born. And that's when I first mentioned to you when I first came on today is that the biggest difference in New Aria weight loss, the reason that it is better than anything you have ever tried. When people come to New Aria weight loss, you've done it all. You've been on 998 diets, you're a perfectionist, maybe you like to control things you can't control, you have major doubt in your mind because you've had so many past failures and past attempts. And you have to understand one thing, the one major difference is that thinking is the cause and behavior is the symptom. Thinking is the cause and behavior is the symptom. Making anything that you do behavior change simply in the area of behavior change alone, it's only symptom treatment. If we don't change how you think, it won't effortlessly change what you do. Today's topic, every Wednesday I'm here live with you at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with a new topic. As the founder of New Aria Weight Loss, today we're talking about decision making, and it's a huge part of the process. The procrastination, the frustration, the worry, the overwhelm, the anxiety, a lot of it comes from not making a decision, from everyday decisions. And we're going to talk about how to make a decision differently in not using your head, which only has access to past experience, which I'll explain. So the reason that thinking essentially is, that's what we do, is we help you change how you think instead of just the behavior change. I'll wrap it into a nice analogy for you so you can digest it and make it real in your life. Here at New Aria, we know the New Aria method says that your thoughts create your emotions, which create your behaviors. Now, most people will go ahead and, okay, I'm eating sugar, here's my behaviors, and those create my life circumstances. My behaviors, my current behaviors, even outside of health, they create my life circumstances. You know, if I eat too much sugar, there's fat or inflammation on my body. If I don't save enough money, there's no money in my bank account. And we say, well, I want to lose weight. I want to change my life circumstance. So if I go to change my behavior, I go from old behavior to new behavior. You know, I go from eating sugar to not eating sugar. Most of us have an all or nothing approach to change. We say, we change 998 things on Monday and we fall into chocolate cake by Friday because it's an unstrategic use of willpower. And allow me to kindly, gently, and with love correct your thinking and know this, that you are strong enough, you do have enough willpower, and you are capable of this. It's that willpower is just a muscle. Willpower is just a muscle. And if we use it unstrategically, we're going to use it up. If we use willpower unstrategically, we're going to use it up. And changing 998 things about my life on Monday and falling into chocolate cake by Friday is a product of an unstrategic use of willpower. Now, most of us, when we begin, we say, well, let me take these small little steps. Let me take these small little baby steps. Is what we do here in behavior change alone at New Aria Weight Loss, is to help you learn the path of least resistance in behavior change, use the power of a habit loop, and take you down 5 steps to change a habit. It's in later this month, I'll be talking about what those 5 steps are on a future Wednesday. So check that out. I believe it's the last Wednesday of the month. We have our schedule at newaria.com/events. And most of us, when we take this small step here, the brain, which is not you, which is a very crucial an important point to know, and we're going to talk more about it today in the topic today that is decision making, is to know that here's Maya, here's you, and here's your brain. We're not our brain. Here's me and here's your brain. And the brain has 70,000 thoughts in a day. Those thoughts fall under categories. So if I'm not my brain, I'm not my thoughts. Now, the brain would say, if I go to take small steps in my life, the brain will say, well, that's not enough. You're never going to reach your goals. It's just not enough. Why didn't you learn French yesterday, right? If you don't learn French in the day, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough in some way. And we could say, I don't like the word, but we could say sabotage, right? There's a lot of sabotage that happens in that. And so as you start to change your habits strategically, we can create some permanence, but we have to correct something back here. This is where thinking becomes the cause of all of this. So you go from no sugar, or you go from all sugar to no sugar. You change the behavior. Now, the Nuori method says that our thoughts create our emotions, which create our behaviors. And after 14 years of proven results in this, it creates this, following this formula creates effortless behavior change, effortless. And I know your brain, not you, because I know you're not your brain. Your brain is saying effortless weight loss and effortless that's not possible. It's only because of how we're thinking habitually. So don't worry if your brain poo-poos some of what I'm saying. It's simply because we have a very specific way of habitual thinking that limits us from ultimately seeing possibility, which is a big component in our decision making. So if I go from no sugar or all sugar to no sugar, if I was eating sugar out of stress, my emotions create my behavior. So if I was eating sugar out of stress, I'm only going to have a certain amount of stress level in my life before my willpower muscle is completely used up. Before this willpower muscle is completely used up, and I am going to go right back up to the stress up here, I'm going to go right back to the sugar because I've used up all of my willpower that was changing this one specific behavior down here. This is called the hamster wheel. Have you been on the hamster wheel before? If anybody has, please let me know. This is called the hamster wheel. When we go from the stress to the sugar to the I shouldn't be eating sugar, let me come off of it, to right back up to the sugar, and round we go. And so many of us, I mentioned this to you, I'm not strong enough, I don't have enough willpower, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I have so many failed past attempts. So many times we get down on ourselves in this way, but we don't realize the most important component of all. And that is that our emotions are driven by our thinking. Remember the first thing I said to you today, and I'm probably going to say it 9 million more times to you today, is that thinking is the cause, behavior is the symptom. We are not here to treat symptoms anymore. All of us are advanced and we are smart and we don't need any more knowledge. If we needed any more knowledge, we'd already all be where we want to be with our health and our weight in other areas of our lives. So why am I stressed out? Well, this is where the habits of the mind come in. Habituations of thinking sound like perfectionism, all or nothing thinking, catastrophic thinking, obsessive thinking, overthinking, trying to control things I can't control, storytelling. There's you and I, we have a different life. We have different jobs, we have different families, et cetera, and so on. But you and I, with 70,000 thoughts in our head, they can fall under categories of thinking, right? Categories of thought. So we could both be overthinkers. We could both try and control things that we can't control. And that's going to produce a specific amount of stress. So, and if you're new to this and hearing this for the first time, don't worry, this will be recorded. This work, you have to hear it again and again and again. So if it totally makes sense, amazing. If not, keep coming back and keep listening, because my intention for you every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here is to plant more seeds of awareness. And selfishly, and tonight talking more about decision making to help you make a decision to move forward much more powerfully and clearly in your life. And know this, that you are strong enough. You do have enough willpower. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not a failure, and real change is possible. It is only your brain and the habituations of mind that are keeping you in the place that you're at. So our thoughts drive our emotions, which drive our behaviors. And therefore, if I just change my behavior, if I just come off sugar, but I never change the original all or nothing, go hard or go home habit of thought that drove the original behavior, when I use up my willpower, I will always go back to the original behavior, because behavior change alone is just the symptom. You've got to change on the level of the thought to create the permanence. It's what we do here at New Aria Weight Loss, is we teach you how to think differently. And when you learn how to think differently, much more aligned behaviors will come in, and they will be much more effortless. They will be much more easy. There will be a higher level of acceptance of self. Because the truth is that if you're, our mission here at New Aria is to reduce the obesity rate in the country. Call us nuts, but that's what we want to do. 40% of our country is obese at this moment. 40%. And we have more meal plans, we have more apps, we have more knowledge than we have ever had before. So what is the issue? The issue is that we have never learned how to think and how to feel, how to change the habit of the mind, how to change our habits of emotion. When we learn how to do these things, behavior change becomes easy and effortless, because I've been in your shoes and I've thought your thoughts, and I need you to know that it's very frustrating and very overwhelming when you want to change something in your life and you think to yourself, what else do I need to do? What do I need to do? Do. The brain goes straight to the doing. What else do I need to do? What else do I need to do? What else do I need to do? And maybe, just maybe, even though I haven't even started on the topic for this evening, maybe, just maybe, your first thought is going to be, how can I think differently about this? Because how can I think differently about this? It's actually part of the process called thought redirection we teach you in the New Aria program. Say, how can I think differently about this? That will allow the space of possibility for new behavior to come in. The mind is limited because it only has access to past experience. The brain inside of our head only has access to past experience. It is a tool, and it is a phenomenal tool. It is a tool that helps you analyze and calculate and plan and do all of these things. But at the same time, if we want to create something new out of nothing, we cannot use our brain. And when we say create something new out of nothing, what I mean is that if you have never experienced effortless weight loss, that is creating something new out of nothing. And what I keep catching in both of these cameras, on Instagram and Facebook, is this one really shiny gray hair in the camera right now. I love it. I love it. I love it. I welcome them. I welcome them. Catch me in 10 years. Maybe there'll be a ton more in here. We'll have made a dent in the obesity rate in 10 years. Come back and there'll be much more greater. So much of the, I see you laughing every part. So much of the work that we do is simply to help you think differently. And let me tell you something, is there is a big, in the process of change work, and becoming healthier, there are two places that you're going to be in. Oh, what a great segue into the topic. I didn't even plan that. There are two places that you're going to be in at any one given moment in time. You are either A, in the space of getting ready to be ready. I am getting ready to be ready. I am getting ready to be ready. And there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Your brain's going to say, what's the matter with you? Why aren't you just doing what you know you should be doing? You could have accomplished it yesterday. If you lost 2 pounds this week, plus 2 pounds next week, plus 1 pound next week, then you'll be at this weight, at this time of day, at this year. And you're lying to me if you've never done that before, because we all have, especially if you're in the right place at the right time here at New Aria Weight Loss, which, P.S., by the way, and really isn't a P.S., we are enrolling right now for our next New Aria Weight Loss group. It starts at the end of this month in May. And there are 2 ways to do it. You can join us live and in person, or you can do it online, so you do not have to live here in Phoenix, Arizona. And the 3 main components are going to be the health coach and the 3-phase weight loss plan. You're going to get the New Aria mentor, learn how to think differently, learn how to feel, and learn how to change a habit. And the accountability and acceptance support groups with me. There are 3 main components. After 14 years, this is the proven methodology that is needed for your permanent weight loss. Just go to newaria.com/weight loss, and you'll read all about the testimonials and all sorts of good stuff on there and how the program actually works. We're enrolling now, and you do not, it's a low-cost way to join the program because it's group. So make sure that you save your spot, because there are spots. You don't have to live here in Phoenix. So make sure that you get on there this evening and save your spot for that. So you're either getting ready to be ready. Maybe you're here with me every Wednesday getting ready to be ready. Or you have made a decision and a commitment for change. You have made a decision and a commitment for change. I'm getting ready to be ready, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or I've made a decision and a commitment for change. And when I make a decision and a commitment for change, that's when we meet conviction, and that's when we meet certainty. Now, there is a way about making a decision in this world that is very different than we have ever done so before. And I want to give you a background this evening on what are the differences in decision making, how can we make decisions differently, how can we move through procrastination, our own doubt, our own fear, and our own worry, and move forward more powerfully from a place that we know is rooted and grounded in the truth of who we really are. And that's what we're looking to do. Because the fourth main biggest stressor, we address 4 areas of stress in the New Aria weight loss program. Behavioral stress, like eating too much sugar, not getting sleep, not exercising or drinking water. Emotional stress, thoughts, stress, anxiety, frustration, overwhelm, hopelessness, depression, despair. Thoughts, the all or nothing, catastrophic, overthinking, obsessive thinking. And then the most important, which I was alluding to, is what we call eustress, Y-O-U stress. Not the other kind, but the Y-O-U stress, which simply means there is great stress and great pain in knowing that I am not living the life that I was made for. Now, there are a million ways to say this, but when there is a gap between who you know you are, when we are not living to our fullest potential, and when we are not living in alignment with our values, that hurts. And it's actually very stressful. It is very stressful, very exhausting, and we can become weary, we can grow weary and get very tired when we are not living the inspired life. When we are not in alignment with our truth and our values and our potential. That is, I don't want to say probably, because in 14 years, I know for sure that that is the biggest stressor of them all. And we just go straight to behaviors. What else do I need to do? My friend, there is so much more. And so my intention for you, of course, tonight and every Wednesday is to increase your awareness, plant seeds for change, and help you to close that gap faster and faster in the getting ready to be ready, to move you along. That is the whole purpose. And I need you to know that I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it, is there's nothing wrong with where you're at. It's okay. It's okay. When you go to close the gap between where you're at and where you want to be, which is what we do at New Aria, when you go to close that gap and move into this space, so much of who you thought you were in behaviors and emotions and thoughts. I know you've heard people say it before. Maybe you've even said before, that's just who I am. That's just the way I am. No, that's just the way you're choosing to be. That's just the way you're choosing to think. That's just the way you're choosing to feel again today. That's just the behavior you're choosing to engage again today. Your life circumstance at this present moment is made up of your habituations in thought, emotion, and behavior. And so should you want to be something else, which I could argue that is really the truth of who you are, should you want to close that gap and be more of who you are, lose the weight, become healthy, and all of the wonderful things that will come along with it, is now I have to change what I think, feel, and do. There's a statistic that I love to share so much, and it blows my mind every time. Maybe you've heard me say it before. They say that 95% of everything we think, do, and feel is habitual by age 35. Everything we think, do, and feel is habitual by age 35. Meaning that today, if you were not conscious and aware and working and creating on change today, 95% of everything you think, everything you felt, and everything you did was the same as yesterday. So if you are wanting any kind of change in your life, that statistic is just not on our side, which means that we have to become more aware of our habituations and thought, become more aware of what we're thinking, and become, well, most of us are pretty dang aware of what we are and are not putting into our mouths, when we are and are not running, and when we are not drinking water. So to help you close that gap, tonight's topic is on decision making. How do I close that gap on I'm getting ready to be ready and make a decision and a commitment to move forward? How do I do this? And how do I make a decision in a different way? Because let me share this with you. Remember I said that here's me and here's you and here's your brain. You're not your brain. The brain inside of our head is a tool that is wired for safety and survival. And it's a 5 million year old tool wired for safety and survival. It has 70,000 thoughts in a day. And it's just a bundle of neurons that is wired together in specific sequences that if we do not consciously choose to change how we think, we'll continue down that same path that it's always ever been. And so if you have large amounts of past what you deem as failures, large amounts of doubt and unknown and years of habituations and thought and emotion, it can very easily feel as though it's a way of life. It can very easily feel as though this is just who I am. And obviously, we're here to share with you that that's not the case, that you can change that no matter how old you are, no matter where you live in the world, no matter how much money you have or don't have. None of those things matter, because when you learn how to train the puppy upstairs, everything changes. As of right now, if we are immersed in overthinking, obsessive thinking, trying to control things we can't control, procrastination, fear of failure, fear of succeeding, anything that brings about a less than desirable emotion, because thoughts create emotions. If we are engaged in any kind of thought that is bringing about a less than desirable emotion, the brain upstairs is like a puppy that's running around chewing up your house, your shoes, and your underwear. It is an untrained puppy, and your job is to train the puppy. Because once you train the puppy, the aligned thought, which we'll talk about here in decision making, the aligned thought feels good. And that is the biggest distinction in the differentiation in decision making. Our world, we're thinkers, we've been trained this way, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. We know how to make a decision based upon the pros and the cons and the rationalizations and the non-rationalizations. And I'm not here to say to you to make a decision from just emotion, because we know that if that emotion is, there's two distinct places. If that emotion is somewhat based in fear, then fear-based results and decisions can also be a real thing. There is a way to make a decision where thought and emotion are working in alignment. And that's what we're going for. I'll dive deeper into that for a second. So instead of decision making from procrastination, instead of decision making from fear, I can't even say it, let alone spell it. I had to go Google it just to make sure. Decision's that one word that you like. It's really hard to spell. There's several words like that. Jacqueline, I know you're the same way. I say that with love. Decisions are that one thing that if we are procrastinators, if we are indecisive, which is just a habit of the mind, that brings about a lot of, now this is just a Maya word, use whatever word you want to, but that brings about a lot of suffering. That brings about a lot of suffering in the way that I have not made a decision and a commitment to move forward. I have not made a decision to, I'm staying in the place of I want to be ready, but I'm not ready. So I'm getting ready to be ready, but I'm not accepting that I'm getting ready to be ready. So I haven't moved forward. There's so much of this. The second part of my story, when I was just a solo business owner running everything, I thought I had to set the alarm for the sun to rise. And a lot of my behaviors were because of fear-based decisions. And it threw me into burnout. I was diagnosed with prediabetes, went on medications for anxiety and depression. And that's when so much more of the Nuaria methodology was born, because I learned that my thoughts were driving my emotions and therefore my behaviors and putting me in a consistent place of fight or flight, and for the fight or flight stress response that's always in the body. So making those decisions from a totally different space is what's important. And all I want you to make now is the distinction. And just let me know, right in the comment section, just let me know that you understand there's a distinction here. Oh, does that still work? Video paused. I don't know how to come back, guys. Sorry. I was getting a phone call. Let's try this. Come back here. Hey guys, can you see me on Instagram? I don't know if you can or not. Well, let's see if that call just helps. So there are two places that you're going to be making from a decision perspective. There are two, oh, you can still see me. Thanks, Mark. I got a call, so now I'm completely blacked out for some reason. I don't know why. As long as you can see me, we're good. So there's two places that you're going to be making a decision from. And that first place, I just want you to make a distinction in your mind and your heart for just a second. The first place you can make a decision from is procrastination, indecisiveness, fear, doubt, and worry. And this doesn't, there's the difference here. I'm going to ask you to feel through it. I know thinkers, that's not going to be a pleasant thing for you. So I'm going to ask you to just feel through this one for just a second. And then there's this whole other way about being able to make decisions. And this whole other way about being able to make decisions is what I want you to tap into. And there is, you don't, if you want something, I'm going to pause for a second because part of the reason that we're talking about decision making tonight is that, as I had mentioned, so much of this is my intention for you is to reduce the unnecessary self-induced suffering that comes around with not making a decision. And so the mind, which you're not the mind, as it only has access to past experience, can only tell you about past experience. So when you want to create something new out of nothing, the first thing that inhibits your ability to make a decision is the fact that you will use mind to go back in time and say, here's all the reasons why it's not possible. So as long as we engage mind in its habitual nature to make a decision, we'll be forever making decisions based on past experience, which then in turn limits our future experiences and possibilities, because mind only has access to past experience. I give the example often is that like a little boy who grows up in a poor community and he doesn't know what a mansion is. And then he hears the word mansion, but doesn't know what a mansion is. And then he grows up and he drives, he gets in a car and drives, and then drives past a 2-bedroom house and points at the 2-bedroom house and calls it a mansion. His brain didn't really have any understanding or past experience as to what that was. So I ask of you to pay more attention when you are wanting something for yourself. Pay very close attention. Let's just use weight loss because you've already weight loss. When you're wanting weight loss, for yourself, the moment you want that, the moment you think about that, what is the very next thought right behind that comes up? What's the very next thought that comes up right behind that? Is it, well, you've tried a million things before, so I don't know how this is ever going to work for you, and you failed at this, and we don't want to end up doing this again, and do you know how much money you spent here doing that, and that never worked out. You never had the time for you. You never set out the time for you, and that didn't work out, so this possibly couldn't work. What thought comes in right behind it? And all of those thoughts that come in right behind it, the moment that you may explode with a certain amount of joy in your heart that says, here's what I want, and here's where I want to go. I want a healthy body. I want weight loss. And the next thing that comes in, the very next thing is mind. And mind and its habituations full of doubt and procrastination and fear of failure and all of these other components are just habits of the mind. And if we don't know how, we won't move forward. That's decision-making process 1, right? That's not where we want to be. There's an alternative process. I don't know why. I got a phone call on Instagram, and now the photo's not coming back, and I don't know how for it to come back. It's just black, but as long as you guys can see me, then we're good. Oh, Instagram. All right, well, we'll just leave it. So that's the first type of decision making. And that one doesn't work out so well, because then this thing that I often call is this 365-day syndrome comes up, right? It's like you really want something. And you and I, maybe we get up in the morning and one day or one Saturday morning with a cup of coffee, you feel really good and you have this dream, you have this possibility. Like, oh, what would it really be like to be healthy and to lose weight? What would that life be like? We actually will have you do this. One of the very first exercises you do is to create your new story in all these areas. Not just what would you think, what would you do, how would it feel? And you have to use your imagination like a kid. You have to go back to the time when you were building sand castles and forts and tents in your house with sheets, right? You got to go back to that moment, because that's where we tap into dreaming and imagination that is uninhibited with past experience, habituations, and doubt. And when we go to that place and start defining it, then instead of the how that immediately comes in, and we have to remember the puppy is going to come in and going to want to chew up all the stuff in your house and your underwear and all of that good stuff. And we want to just calm that puppy for just a second and allow that space of possibility to just exist. Allow ourselves to indulge in that space of possibility. And don't worry, because you're not at a place where you've made that clear decision just yet. You're just allowing yourself to indulge in the place of possibility. We don't often do that, especially as adults, as often as we potentially could, and it feels really good, and I invite you to do that. Because it's after possibility that we continue to make sure we keep doubt at bay. We just, go give the dog a bone or something to chew on or something like that. Just let it go wrestle with itself in the corner for a little while and allow yourself to indulge in that possibility. And as you do that, you're focused. I would encourage you to focus instead of what is wanted. So you're knowing what is wanted, right? This weight loss, I just gave you the next step, and that next step I want you to do. And this is how you make the decision in level 2, so to speak, or another kind of decision, a decision from, don't freak out when I say this, your heart, is after you allow yourself to indulge in that possibility and you know what you want. I want weight loss. Okay, well, ask yourself, and here's what I want you to do, is to ask yourself who you're going to become after the arrival at this place. Who are you going to become at the arrival of this place? I want you to think about that person, that him or her, when the weight has already been lost. I want you to think about that him or her. And I want you to create a North Star for yourself, if you will. A North Star of who is this person, right? Think about this, and we're not in a decision-making place yet, okay? Just think about this for a second, or not think about this for a second. You create this North Star for yourself. The process of becoming, you know how they always say, enjoy the journey. For years, I was like, enjoy the journey. I want to get to the place. So there's this process of enjoying the journey, and this is quite literally what this means, although I fought it for so long, is I want you to not just, okay, so I want weight loss. Great, you want weight loss. Who are you? What is this North Star? Who is this person? How does she think? How does he feel? What do they do? Who is this person? How are they different in thought, emotion, and behavior? Not just, I want weight loss. I want you to define that. It's one of the first things that we do with you here at Noria Weight Loss, is to help you define that, the new habituations that you're wanting. Even if you just play and imagine it for a second. Because the whole process is about unbecoming and unlearning. Because I would argue after 14 years that this person here is who you really are. And there's so much stress and inflammation and fat on the body, because one of the biggest stressors, as I mentioned to you in the 4 kinds of stress, in the U stress, the YOU stress, is the pain, suffering, stress that exists when we live a life apart from our values and our potential. And this is stressful. So clearly, you want to clearly define that first. And so much of this process, when we start unbecoming, more and more we start unbecoming. And as we start unbecoming all of these habits of thought, emotion, and behavior, we just start realizing that this is who were all the time. This is who we were the whole way along the process. We're just undoing thoughts and emotions and behaviors that have been learned the whole way through. I'm just sharing with you what's on the other side to help you make a decision more that is in more alignment with the thought and emotion. There's something that is a little terrifying along the decision-making process, although, you know, I found it a little more terrifying. Maybe you won't, I don't know. But when you understand and you clearly define over here that this is who I'm becoming, this is who I am, this is what I want, that ultimately what I have to do is let go then and release the expectation of the weight loss. This is where trust comes in, because it says, well, I trust that if I'm the person who I want to be, which is around the weight loss, because weight loss certainly, yes, is what you're wanting, but who you are is, this is what's called enjoying the journey. It's about who I'm becoming along the process of losing the weight permanently. In the end, yeah, sure, when you arrive at this place, because there's always going to be this place, when you get there, there's always going to be, this is the arrival of this place, of who am I? And this is what we're going for, not the weight loss. So when I can release some of the expectation to the outcome, which you've heard a million times before, when I can release some of the expectation to the outcome, it helps me to get much more, settle into the moment and the journey a little bit more. It helps me to get rid of so much all or nothing thinking. Like, got to do it now, got to go hard, got to go home, got to make this happen right here and now. And I say this was, it's hard for me, it's a continuous process, but you're letting go of the expectation of the weight loss. So one of the hardest questions sometimes that I'll ask some of our clients in our acceptance and accountability support groups, if the support group is a piece that you need along the journey, is that what if nothing ever changed? Now, certainly things are going to change, but what if nothing ever changed? You want to know the place that keeps you in the getting ready to be ready. It keeps you as stagnant instead of being able to just make a decision that's much more in alignment with your thoughts and emotions and outside of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. The place that keeps you outside of making a clear decision and commitment to move forward is fighting so much of what is. I hate my weight, I hate my weight, I hate my weight. When's it gonna go down? Oh, why can't, I'm gonna start the diet on Monday. I'm gonna go all in, I'm gonna go all out. And then I lose 20 pounds and then I gain some of it back because I never changed my habituations and my thinking, right? So much that keeps us in a place of stagnancy and getting ready to be ready and staying the same. It's just fighting what is with so much expectation to outcome. And when we come to a place where we can release some of the expectancy, and when we can release some of the expectancy, some of the resistance, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, to the outcome, that helps us get to a new place of decision much more powerfully. Ultimately, it's certainty that helps us to squash doubt. It's like certainty. That's what you're working to do. Certainty. When you are certain about something, there is no doubt. There's zero doubt. Certainty is like sunlight, right? Certainty is like sunlight. When sunlight is there, there's nothing, like nothing's dark. There's no dark spaces. There can't be any dark spaces because sunlight's there. It's like the awareness. Certainty, when certainty is there, it crowds out everything else. Certainty crowds out doubt. It crowds out fear. It crowds out. You can't have both at the same time. It's not possible. And ultimately what you're working to do to make a decision that is aligned with thinking and feeling is to create that certainty. There's only uncertainty when there is a, I've never used that analogy before. Cog in the wheel, is that the right analogy? I don't know. When something's stuck in here, when our thoughts and our emotions and behaviors, and I eat less sugar, but my origination of thought and my all or nothing thinking and my stress never change. This is out of alignment, and there's no certainty in this. I will forever be nervous about my decision to have changed my habits. It was a fear-based decision. It was not a decision in alignment with thoughts and emotions, with certainty and conviction, because there are fragments and fractions back here where fear still exists. Certainty comes in when everything is moving in alignment, because all things always move in alignment. And if you don't have certainty, it's not bad. It only means that there's misalignment somewhere in the methodology, thoughts, emotions, behaviors. I took some notes here for you too. Yeah, this process, when you go through the process of unbecoming, you see how this second process of decision making is lighter, it's easier, it's not so forceful, it's not so fearful, it's not so doubtful, it's just a process. This is decision making, and you're taking one step at a time. Instead of your head saying it's not enough, I should go harder, I should go faster, I should have learned French yesterday. There was something I wrote down for you this morning that said, what you'll grow through is a series of perfect in the progression moments. What you'll grow through during this process of realizing who you really are and unbecoming all of these habits that you're not, that you picked up along the way, you'll grow through a series of perfect in the moment progressive moments. And it's perfect. Now, that's where certainty starts to come in, is that you can rest in certainty. You can rest in a certain level of certainty that says, I know. Now, knowing and certainty are like brother and sister. So I only know something because I believed it with evidence. I only know something because I believed it with evidence. Like when clients start to lose weight effortlessly, they just believe it because they've had it, but when they have more and more and more evidence, they'll know it as a fact. And when you know it as a fact, you'll have a certain amount of certainty. But how do you have certainty if you don't have the belief and the evidence for it? That's when we have to align much more of the formula, our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and know that certainty will come in after using this process. So you get to a place where you use certainty, and you use what we call, this is much later in Norio weight loss, but it's right perspective thinking. And I'm just looking at I wrote some notes down for you this morning, and I don't want to, some of you, if you're meeting us for the very first time, I don't want to take you down a path that is too much, although it's certainly a big part of what we do in the second level of this work of, there's parts 1 and 2 to Norio weight loss, and much of what I am talking about today really touches on part 2. And what is part 2? Part 2 is, so the Norio method, as you know, is that our thoughts create our emotions, which create our behaviors. Part 2 is back here, and part 2 says that my beliefs, don't freak out, a belief is just a repeated thought. It's an overused word, I get it. A belief is just a repeated thought. If I think a thought over and over and over again, I'm going to believe it to be true. Just like I gave you my story of, I grew up in a Lebanese household and food was love. That was a belief for me. I believed food was love because it made me feel better when I ate. So belief and fear and insecurity, all of those things, my, lack and unknown and uncertainty and not enoughness and all this jazz that you've already heard about, it drives our thinking. It drives our thinking, which drives our emotions and behaviors. There's a reason that we think what we think. There's a reason we do what we do. And when you can start aligning everything properly, that's when effortless behavior change happens for you. That's when certainty happens for you. And so much of closing the gap between where you're at and where you want to be to lose this weight, making a decision this way, this is a slow dipping your toes in the water decision-making process. It's a very first step in how to change a habit, as we take you through the 5 steps to change a habit. And the very first step is making a decision and commitment for change. And one of the first things that I have always said to everyone is that you don't have to climb up the high dive and cannonball into the water. And if it doesn't make the biggest, most perfect splash, you don't have to go do it again, because that's not what change is. Change is taking my shoes off and dipping my toes in the water and trusting that my brain only has access to past experience and that I am going to do it a different way. That's why change only happens when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Because when you're sick and tired enough of being sick and tired enough, that's when you move forward without knowing the how. And when you move forward without knowing the how, that's when you take the small steps in the second level of decision-making process. So I'll share the rest of my notes with you now that I gave you a little bit of background, but just to sum it up for you. Instagram, I hope you're still there. My screen is still black, so I still can't see anything, but I think some of the comments are going through. But Otherwise, it's recorded everywhere for you. So instead of diving in with a cannonball into this water and making fear-based, doubtful, procrastination, not sure if I'll ever get there, cross my fingers, let's magic thinking, right? This isn't magic thinking. And instead of that kind of decision making, the second kind is dipping my toes in. And I can move forward powerfully without knowing the how. I have to know the how and I won't move forward until I know the how, or I need to create something new out of nothing in my life, like this thing called effortless weight loss that this woman is talking about right now that I have no idea about, but I don't know how to do that. So then, how bad do you want it? How sick and tired are you of being sick and tired? And when I'm sick and tired enough in that space, now I can make a decision and a commitment in a whole new way. That's when my thoughts align with my emotions and I move forward in a way that says, I don't know how this is going to happen, and that's okay. So I'm going to define what is wanted. Well, I want weight loss. Okay. Well, what does weight loss really mean for you? Who are you becoming in this process? What's your North Star you? What is the highest potential of you? Who is this person, he or she? How do they feel? How do they look? How do they think? Where are you going? How do you exist in this world? Who are you? This is the biggest stressor. When you know that you are not your fullest potential, it sucks. It sucks and it hurts and it's very stressful. And it will seep into all these other areas of your life, like relationships and finances and a messy house and a job you don't like. It's going to seep into everywhere. It's super common that all of our clients here at New Aria Weight Loss, like, you got a messy mind? Well, you probably got a messy house, and you probably got a messy cupboard, and your time is not as, you don't deal with time well, you don't deal with money well, all of these things. They all come together. There's no separation between them. So I really want you to think about, who are you? Who are you really? This isn't about, I have to go become this person, really, right? I always thought about this, you know, I love Tony Robbins. There's nothing wrong with Tony Robbins, but he always said, like, I made this person, right? And so this just came to my head. I don't know why, but I made this person. And you're not making this person that you're wanting to become. I challenge your thinking in a little bit that says, this is who you really are. And what we have to do now in the process is unbecome. Unbecome all of the thoughts and the emotions along the way and the behaviors that you've learned and picked up that do not serve you. One of our old clients, Pam, always used to say, it's like peeling back the layers of the onion, right? You're down there, you're that sweet little center. You've just been in the truck and you've been banged around a little bit, and you've got scratches and bruises and some dirty layers. We just got to take them off. That's this process of unbecoming and realizing that this is who you really were. And in this process, this is the part of the enjoying the journey. I have a level 2, a little bit of conversation for you in this moment that says, this happens for you when you realize you already are this person. You already are this person. And we just let go of, like, okay, I'm not going to be so intense about my weight loss efforts. I'm not going to be so go hard or go home, be all or nothing with it, and just allow my, I don't know, uncomfortableness in my body to take over my everyday thoughts and my emotions, letting the puppy just chew stuff up everywhere around the house. I'm going to let go of the expectation of the outcome and focus on who I really am, because I know that who I really am engulfs and the weight loss. If the weight loss is just a symptom of who I really am, I need to focus on her. I need to focus on him, because this is who I really am, and weight loss will be a byproduct of it. Because remember, thinking is the cause and behavior is the symptom, and we do not treat behaviors anymore. That's why you have enough knowledge in this world. That's why you know what to do, and you're just not doing it. If how-tos really worked, right, we'd all be exactly where we want to be already. Your time for integration is right now, my friend. So as you do that, and the quote that I had wrote down for you in thinking about today's live cast was, what you'll grow through is a series, you see what I did there? That was funny. What you'll grow through is a series of perfect in the progression moments, a perfect series of progressional moments that lead you to you. And you know that right there, this is key. because this is about, which I have not talked to you about today, this is about thought responsibility. It's about using my willpower, not in my behaviors, but in my thoughts. Not in my behaviors, but in my thoughts. And being very strategic about my thoughts. You have so much to do. You have so much on your plate. And instead of unstrategically using up all my willpower and my behaviors, I gotta be more strategic with my thoughts. And when my thoughts want to go down this path and start chewing stuff up in my house that says, I'm never going to get here. I don't know how this situation is going to help. I don't know how, I'm just fell off the wagon. I just ate too much. Your behavior doesn't matter. It's how you're going to think about it that makes your next right move. It's how you're going to think about what just happened that's going to help you move forward. I don't care what you just did. What are you going to do next? How are you going to think about it that's going to move you forward? Here at New Warrior Weight Loss, and obviously you're getting the point, there's no more wagon. You can't fall off a wagon because there's no wagon. There's no wagon. You can't fall off a wagon if there is no wagon to fall off of. And the wagon only exists in your mind. So as you move forward with this perfect, you start trusting. Oh, dare I say it? I just said it. You start trusting that there's a perfect progression of moments, right? You got it. There's a part of you that's part two. I know I can't, it's just a Mayaism, I guess. I can't talk to you about it without giving you the full picture, but there's a part of you that will shift in thinking and habituation that says everything is leading me to where I want to go. And if you believe, if catastrophic thinking, which basically says not if the sky is going to fall, but when the sky is going to fall, it's really hard to shift right perspective to see that I am growing through a perfect set of moments if catastrophic thinking is my habitual thinking. Catastrophic thinking, although habitual thinking, is not right perspective thinking. And we teach you how to change your thinking at New Warrior Weight Loss. So, of course, staying true to what you know, who you're becoming, allowing, surrendering, unbecoming. We got to master our thinking. We got to master our thinking. You see our journals, it's possible. No worry. We got to master our thinking. That's what it is. Don't even try to master your behaviors. Master your thinking. And what you will find in learning to master your thinking, which will get you to effortless and easy weight loss, is that the answers and right behaviors will come, but that is not your focus. The focus is, what am I becoming along this process? Oh, you know what? I realize that I probably got to be a little bit easier on myself. I realize that maybe I should be a little bit softer. Maybe I should take a break. Maybe I should really take that nap that I want to because I'm going too hard right now. Maybe I should start allowing more. Maybe I should release expectation of surrender this or that. Or what I'm trying to express to you in this moment is that these are the tools. These are the tools, being easier, being softer, being whatever it is, the acceptance, these are the tools that are going to lead you to your weight loss. These are the tools that will lead you to your permanent weight loss. It is not, look, if you need to eat less sugar, great. Come to New Warrior Weight Loss, we'll get you off the sugar, great. I don't care. We don't really, we do care about that, yes, but that's not the important piece, is stop fighting what you're not doing because it's okay. Stop fighting what you're not doing. I really, what's the matter with me? Why, right? And that just produces such a, stressful environment, a chaotic environment. And start tapping into, these are all the pieces. This is what this journey is really about. When I learn how to think differently, I am forced into situations that, into opportunities to grow that are going to help me realize and become who I am and unbecome all of these things. This is the work back here. This is the strategic use of willpower we have to use. Not worrying about when my next diet is going to start. That's not what's going to reduce our obesity rate anymore. We have to master our thinking and stop letting this puppy chew up everything in our house. How do I know that I'm thinking right, that I'm in right perspective thinking? How do I know that I'm not making a decision out of fear or worry or judgment or lack or any of these things? I know that I'm not doing that based upon how I am feeling in the moment, because my thoughts create my emotions. And I would bet that not one of you, and if you do, I want you to email me. My email is maya@nuaria.com. And if this is you, I want to know, but I bet that none of you, no one knows with certainty that their best self is full of stress and anxiety, is full of depression and worry. That's not our best self. Not one person in 14 years that I have asked to craft their wonderful story has said, well, I wake up in the morning and I stay stressed out all day long because that's what I want to do. Not one person, 14 years. So how do we know when our thinking is right perspective thinking? How do we know when our thoughts are aligned with where it is that we want to go? If we've thought from a fear-based way of thinking for so long, lack, fill in the blanks, not enoughness, lack of self-confidence, which produces catastrophic thinking, all or nothing thinking, overthinking, obsessive thinking, trying to control things we can't control, which produces stress and anxiety, which then we reach for addictions and misaligned behaviors, which create a really shitty life circumstance. If we know that this is the alignment that we're working with, how do we know that we are on a different path of alignment? That this path of alignment will create desired behavior. How do I know that? Because it's going to feel good. Because it's going to feel good. Nobody walks out saying, I want to feel like crap today, right? That's what my weight loss is going to do for me, is I'm going to feel awful every single day. Is I feel good. That's how you know. You can't monitor. You should just leave these live casts right now. If I asked you to monitor every 70,000 thoughts in level 2, I kind of do, but thoughts create emotions. If I am feeling good or some iteration of good, then I'm in a new path of alignment. And I'm taking the conversation a lot deeper today than I had expected, and that's okay. And if you're with me, you're with me. If you're not, you're not. It's okay. You can go back and rewatch this and rewatch it again and again. But this is how you know that you're in alignment, is if it is feeling good in some way. And what you will notice, this is very interesting, is that, I've said this before, it's so good. It makes a lot of sense, is that if you're used to stress, if your whole day you're used to stress, you're used to anxiety, you're used to frustration and worry and all of these things, if this is your baseline habit, if you're used to this, this is normal for you. It's as easy for the majority of the world to go be stressed out as it is for us to brush our teeth. And so if this is normal, then if I were to give you a big plate of happiness, you'd probably run in the opposite direction, because you know stress, but you don't know happiness. If all your life you ever ate candy bars and I gave you an apple, which is basically what this conversation today is doing, you would run in the opposite direction, because you lived off candy bars. Although you don't feel well, you've lived off candy bars, and your brain says, I don't know what an apple is. I don't know what happiness is, so I don't want it. Thank you, but no thank you. And should we make decisions from our head, that's what our head does. That's what a mind does. When we make fear-based, doubtful, indecisive procrastination, when we don't move through that space and really start making a decision in a whole different way by dipping our toes in instead of jumping off the high dive and expecting perfection. That's what we're looking for here. Just follow what feels good. That is how you know, my friends, is how I will end this evening. If there's any questions, feel free to pop the questions into any of the comment sections. But that is how you know if Nuaria weight loss is right for you. It's your new line of decision making, right? So as I had mentioned in the very beginning, that Nuaria weight loss, we are the group option is a really great way to engage in the program in a low cost way, in a lower investment way. The group option, you do not have to live here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is awesome. It's starting at the end of the month, and there's an option if you live distance, you can join us the same way too, which is fantastic. You'll have if you go to nuaria.com/weight loss, you'll see it there. You'll have a health coach. You'll have a 3-phase dietary weight loss plan. This 3-phase dietary weight loss plan says, well, yeah, let's clean you up. Let's decompress you. Let's get rid of the sugar. Let's clean up your diet. We're going to clean up your gut a little bit, because if you're not pooping, then we got to get you in that right direction, right? These are very important things for your health. So we take this, and then the second phase we move you into is well, I need to learn how to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. And then the third phase says, I need to learn how to go through a vacation, a holiday, or a birthday and have my cake and eat it too. How do I lose weight and enjoy the things that I'm wanting to have for myself, right? Oh, and we have reached the limit on Instagram, so Instagram has stopped, so I will be here with you guys on Facebook and Zoom. So how do I move forward in, how do I have my cake and eat it too? Now, we can't learn how to, let me just share it and save it. We're gonna save that before it goes away. And share. There we go. So how do I learn to have my cake and eat it too, and eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full? Well, that's where the second phase of New Aria weight loss comes in, is you have a New Aria mentor and the online curriculum. The online curriculum is how to change a habit, how to think, and how to feel. And then we teach you how to think differently, how to change the cause of everything. And then there's support groups where you get me, and that is accountability and acceptance-based support groups. So when all three of these work together, real magic happens. So I hope that you will join us for the New Aria weight loss group that's starting at the end of the month. It's for a smaller group of people. So go today, tonight, right now, whenever you're watching this, to newaria.com/weight loss, and you'll see that right there. So let me go in and I'm going to go to our Facebook page. I don't think any questions came through, so I will just go there and see if anything popped in. Hi, Lori. I see that you are on Zoom with us this evening, so I hope this was helpful for you in some way. This is recorded, and we'll make sure we upload it. So please let me know if there's any questions or there's anything else that we can do for you. Very good. All right, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We will be, oh good, very helpful. Different ways to think about it. So every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time till Arizona changes, because we're nutty like that, or doesn't change when the rest of the world does, then we'll be here 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every single Wednesday with a brand new topic with myself, Maya, as the creator of the New Aria Method and founder of New Aria Weight Loss. And I'll be here to help you along the process and close that gap of getting ready to be ready every single Wednesday. We'll have a new topic. Sometimes it'll be weight, sometimes it won't, but it will always come back to helping you change the original cause, which is the thinking that is causing us much pain, to help you move forward in your life. And P.S., get the weight off your body, because we now know that it doesn't have to do with the weight. I wish you love and happiness and a knowing, a deep knowing that it's possible. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Bye.